Hey guys, what's up? It is 9:48 a.m. Pacific time on this fourth day in March 2025. We are 5 days away from daylight savings time, which means before you go to bed on the 8th, depending on what your sleep ritual is, you got to set the alarms forward, so that way when you wake up, you won't wake up, off kilter, if you know what I mean. You won't wake up like, am I running behind and all that. Instead, you'll wake up basically at the right time. The only problem is, of course, you lose an hour and everything. But that's kind of what the situation is when you look at this whole dynamic. Is should it stick around? Should it not stick around? We got our president basically stating, "Hey, I want to abolish it, get rid of it." That might be something that happens, but we got 4 years to see what he decides to do. But anyway, yeah, the basically this upcoming Sunday will be daylight savings time. Basically, like I said, before you go to bed on the 8th, depending on your sleep ritual, you will have to basically set your clocks forward by an hour, so that way you can be ready for the next day for the new time alignment. Excuse me, if you will. But yeah, welcome though to outside of that. Welcome to Topics on My Mind for today, the 4th, like I said, of March 2025. And, first of all, I want to let you guys know that my Patreon is back up. I have my Patreon going now, and I do have a video there on Patreon right now. It is a video that obviously what I talk about or what I talk about in that video, I should say, is very, I guess you could say too. I mean, I could put it on YouTube later on when the time is right, but it's very much more risque in its discussion, because what we're talking about is Kira Reed, Kira Reed, and she has another name. It's Kara Reed Loxton. I do apologize for that, but she's basically Kara Reed. Again, her name is spelled Kira Reed. She is an actress of a very, I guess you could say, certain genre that you can only see, or that's been known to be only seen very late after hours at night. Basically, like basically around midnight or beyond it, if you will, in between basically the hours of, let's say, 11 p.m. and 4 a.m., if you will, on Pacific channels and all that in the past, as well as can be found on the internet nowadays. But yeah, I have a Patreon exclusive video as of right now on her that's on Patreon. It is under the $3 tier. So if you have the $1 tier, basically you might be able to see it and everything, the $1 tier, but it's mainly the $3 one, if you will. But if you have the $5 tier, you should be able to see it as well. Basically any support, if you will, $1, $3, $5, you should be able to watch it. But mostly I think it is under $3, because that's how they have it going right now. They basically, when you upload something, they want you to basically set it to a certain I guess you could say, dollar amount and everything. So if you want to go check it out, it is on Patreon for about $3 at most, but all depends on the excuse me. All depends on the situation. $3 at most to see the video, and then $5 you'll get to see the video, as well as you'll get all the other amenities, as well as like the tipping, supporting of the channel and the Patreon, as well as you'll be able to eventually get some bonus Q&A, because yes, I will try to bring that back as well. I'll let you guys know when and where the bonus Q&As will occur, and when and where you guys can send in your questions, and how you can do it as well. I'll also let you know the limit of questions that I will answer, so that way the video doesn't drag on for too long, or the Q&A video doesn't drag on for too long. Anyway, yeah, just letting you guys know that on Patreon right now is my first Patreon exclusive video in a long time, and it is under the $3 tier as far as I know. It's under that $3 tier. Might even be the $1. Again, I'll probably have to go back and fix it, guys, and everything. Okay, sorry about that, guys. I wanted to double check and also adjust some things there. But yes, the newest and first video, Patreon exclusive video in a while on my Patreon is at the $3 and $5 tier. I accidentally had it at the $1 tier, but it's now at the $3 and $5 tier. So you guys can check that out if you want to. Again, talking about Kira Reed, known for her roles for certain movies and shows of a certain demographic that you could only, or it's only been known to be seen late at night, specifically between the 11 o'clock to 11 p.m. to like 4 a.m. Time frame on outlets like Showtime, Cinemax, you name it. And you can also find it apparently here on the internet if you just search in Google search, Bing search, DuckDuckGo search, and all that. But yeah, that's what's going on right now. Just thought I'd let you guys know about that. I did post a video up telling you that the Patreon is back. So it also in the video lists the amounts basically to tip to help out. $1 helps out, and basically $5, like I said, $3 is where you can tip as well as access the video, and $5, I didn't add that though, but the $5 also allows you to do Q&As as well, be part of that, and I'll get that up, like I said, eventually in the future. I'll let you know when and where, but right now the primary focus is the tips and basically the video exclusives for content you can't get on YouTube or anywhere else for the time being, due to the fact that if it's too controversial, spicy, or risque for YouTube, after its time on Patreon, will probably show up on Rumble, VENMO, and maybe Odyssey, but mostly probably Rumble and VENMO. And if it's not that long in length, probably even on DeviantArt. So I just thought that you guys know about that. Anyway though, that's what's happening there and everything. Also, this past week, kind of interesting, if you will. It's been a week since the whole situation with my PC. I've been praying over it and everything. God has been blessing me with my computer working well for right now, for the time being. We're in March now, so whatever updates Microsoft has for Windows 10 in its last year, because we are basically, ladies and gentlemen, as of this month, we are basically 7 months away from Windows 10 no longer being supported unless you go with a $30 a month subscription to get that support continued for your computer and for the setup of Windows 10. But outside of that, it's been going good this week. It's been working well this week and everything. And I do have updates paused and set up and ready to go come maybe within the next few weeks and all that. I was going to schedule it for this Sunday, but this Sunday falls before the second Tuesday of the month. So it's going to come a little afterwards. See what happens during that time frame. Anyway though, like I said, it's been doing well, thankfully. Been very kind of cautious sometimes, because I don't know if it's going to give me that blue screen and all that. If it does, it'll just self-repair itself, as it's been known to do. But anyway, luckily this past week's been good with it and everything. And in case you guys don't know what exactly happened, as I mentioned before, basically what occurred is that, and I found this out later on. I even put it in the description of the video where I talked about this. I found out that basically Microsoft, on their end of things, had sent out an update file, because the main things that get updated with these monthly updates, if you will, these monthly updates, is the cumulative updates. That's the ones that get taken care of. Well, apparently for both Windows 10 and 11, whatever they sent out was not good. It caused a lot of issues. Obviously, I wasn't the only one. I saw some people I follow here on YouTube. If you're watching or listening on YouTube, basically they all dealt with the same thing. Like something had occurred when they updated the computer with Windows. Whether it was the volume going down or something else. It's like something was not working right And what happened with me is finally the computer just said it had enough, went into what's known as the blue screen of death, just went through a lot of mumbo jumbo, if you will, and started to do the updates. It started to do it basically as I let it turn back on, because one of the things you got to do after that happens is you got to do a hard reset, or you got to let it repair itself and all that. Well, basically after the hard reset and everything, it started to go into the Windows updating, and basically it did it not once, not twice, but 3 times. And the first time it did it regularly, went to 30%, then restarted, finished it up, went to about almost 100%, around that, then started again, redid it all over again, and finally, did its thing to get back to normal. Thank the Lord on that. And like I said, I looked it up and I found out that basically it was something on their end, because normally updates, no matter how long you pause them, are supposed to basically work. But it kept saying that there was an error there was an error going through, and it's like, what's the error? There's never been an error. And apparently it was something on their end, because apparently I was not the only one that dealt with that. But thank God everything is good. I prayed over my computer every night, or try to pray over it every night before I go to bed, while I'm working on it, so that way basically I won't have no issues whatsoever. But yeah, that was an interesting scenario to say the least. That was an interesting scenario to say the least. And I know some of you watching or listening, depending on how you're viewing this or listening to this, probably dealt with something similar this month as well. But yeah, that's what happened and everything. That's what kind of what happened and all that. And really, not much after that. Not much outside of that, if you will, and everything. Basically, I had family. They went to go see family in the Midwest and everything, because they got to take care of stuff there. They went to go see family there, and they came back this past week. Thank God they came back safe and everything. And they let us know what was happening and everything. So hopefully, come next month, I'll be going with them, because we have a family member out there, my father, I should say, that's going to be celebrating his birthday, so want to be there for that, hopefully, God willing. I am still looking for work and everything, although I am going to get some money this month, I should say, from YouTube. I did make my monetization goal and everything, so hopefully I'll be getting something out of that, this month around the 21st and the 26th. And if things go the way they are currently, I might get something next month as well, because what happened over this past week as well is one of my YouTube videos that I did where I'm comparing, how Luma AI and the Ray 2 update technology, the Ray 2 update that they have, Luma AI, Halo U AI, and Kling AI, how they compare with each other when it comes to certain things. And apparently that's been taken off like gangbusters, if you will, because there are certain images that I downloaded from DeviantArt that are Sonic related, and one of them basically feels like it could fit into the live action movies. And basically this video, and I gotta thank you guys for the support, has been taken off like crazy, because basically I'm gonna look it up right now. It has, as of right now, and let me refresh this so I can get a more updated look at it. It has, as of right now, 6,122 views, and that's just been in about less than, well, a little over a week. I'll put it that way. A little over a week. It's been a little over a week since that happened, because basically I uploaded it on the 22nd, which was basically a week ago this past Saturday. 2 weeks ago, basically a week ago this past Saturday. It's already got 6,122 views. It's got 7 comments, and likes, it's got 202 likes. That's probably the most I've ever seen in a long time, since since basically the It's My Life AMV fan vid that I did back when I started this channel, focusing on Shadow the Hedgehog. that got a lot of views right off the bat, and recently last year it hit 1 million views, if you will. So this might do the same thing, probably a lot sooner than expected. But yeah, that's been happening this past week, so I got to thank you guys for that. Keep that going, keep that up. Really appreciate it. But yeah, outside of that, outside of the fact I'm going to get something this month and everything, and maybe next month, depending on the situation, I got to thank you guys for that. Thank you guys for that support. Now, with that said and everything, let's get on to what we're going to be talking about here and everything. All right, so the topics we're going to talk about today are, number one, when are folks going to learn Trump and his team aren't messing around? We're going to talk about that because apparently there's a lot going on, not just within our country with fellow citizens and political figures in Washington and all that, and statewide, but also internationally. We're going to talk about that. Number two, I've already done some videos on this, but we're going to talk about the effect of the John Cena heel turn at Elimination Chamber 2025. We're going to talk about that. Also talk about how one podcaster's thoughts on it are very valid in what they say. Number three, we're going to talk about ESPN opting out 3 years earlier from the deal with Major League Baseball. We're going to talk about that. Number four, we're going to talk about what the future of the Oscars are. What's the future of the Oscars after the controversy leading into this past Sunday's, I have last night, I forgot to correct that, so I do apologize, into Sunday night's 97th award show. So we're going to talk about what the future is following the controversy leading into this past Sunday's award show. Also, number five, people have been talking about this because it has been ranked in this position. We're going to talk about, is YouTube the future king of streaming, not just for content creators, but for movies and shows? We're going to talk about that. Number six, we're going to talk about, should AI give you a grace period if you can't pay your monthly/yearly subscription? Number seven, we're going to talk about, for the second year in a row, WWE is allowing superstars to compete in promotions during and after WrestleMania. And finally, at number eight, we're going to talk about, is AEW in for a hard time going forward thanks to what happened on Saturday? That, of course, being Elimination Chamber. So with that said, ladies and gentlemen, let's get into our first topic here with this topics on my mind, shall we? Let's get into it. All right, so the first topic here. When are folks going to learn Trump and his team aren't messing around? Now, I'm sure a lot of you know about what happened with Ukrainian President Zelensky, and how his meeting with Trump and Vance went. We all saw it, and yeah, basically, in the eyes of the majority of folks, whether they want to admit it or not, in the eyes of the majority of folks, Zelensky did not make himself look, very good. Even the ambassador to Ukraine for Zelensky, she put her face in, she put her palm in her face and everything, like she couldn't believe what was happening and all that. So the meeting didn't go as planned and everything to get the minerals deal going, and he was basically booted out of the White House, as a result, and anything scheduled with Zelensky and Trump afterwards was canceled. It was postponed and everything. So yeah, Zelensky, in the eyes of a lot of folks, didn't make himself look good, and even though they won't admit it, you can kind of tell in the tone of the British in the tone of the British Parliament, the Prime Minister, and so on, the King. Well, mostly the Parliament and the Prime Minister. Even though they're siding with Ukraine and Zelensky, they also feel that you could just tell in the tone of their voices and the reaction and the body movements and facial reactions, they were not too thrilled with him either doing what he did. Although they could kind of understand from his point of view why he did it and all that and so on. And of course, there are people divided. There are some people here in the country, not just Democrat but Republican as well, that do side with Zelensky and say, hey, he's got a point and da-da-da. Well, people got to understand when Trump reacted the way he did and everything, and Zelensky, not kind of taking into consideration that okay, this is not the same president as before. He's got to realize, and Trump put it on display for everybody to see, he is not messing around. He is not messing around. He is basically letting the folks know, he's letting Zelensky know, he's letting anybody else know, he means business. He means business, and he is going to do everything he promised to do, especially in his first 100 days, to prove that. And everyone that's against him, everyone that wants him out, everybody that's trying to make him look bad and all that, look, you have the right to how you feel. You have the right and power to, want to prove that you're right about him and this is why and da-da-da. Don't get me wrong in that. Don't get me wrong. You're totally in the right, but you have to understand that despite all that, you have to understand and realize he is not someone, him and his team are not people that are going to mess around. When they say they're going to do something, it's going to happen, whether you like it or not. The Prime Minister of Canada has to understand this. He has to understand this, and he will. If not him, the next Prime Minister will. So they have to realize Trump is not fooling around here. He's not fooling around. When he says something's going to happen, it's going to happen. And tonight, he's going to address Congress and the nation, and he's going to let the Congress and the nation know, once again, that he is not messing around. He's going to address certain things that the Democrats are basically preventing from passing and all that as of late when it comes to certain things that he wants to see done. He's going to address that tonight. And he might even say he's going to make an executive order that these things get done, whether they want to, whether the Democrats and other members of certain parties, even his own, don't want them done. He's going to probably put an executive order out to make sure they get done. So basically a lot of people feel that the Democrats are just delaying the inevitable by pushing back and not allowing certain bills to get voted on and everything, or other people in the Republican Party, Independent and Green Party, they're just delaying the inevitable. They're just delaying the inevitable, and that eventually it's going to get through whether they like it or not. And one way it's going to happen is an executive order, and that's it. So yeah, a lot of people have to understand, this guy is not messing around. I mean, you got to realize that he sat at home. He sat at home being accused, demonized, and all that. And these are not just my words; they're words from a lot of people. Being accused and demonized for things he probably did, probably didn't do. The way he acts and all that. You got to understand, this is a guy that sat at home and saw our country basically being put out to pasture by at the hands of our previous president, who, let's be honest, was used as a patsy. Let's be honest. He was used as a patsy. The evidence was there, and nobody wanted to take accountability of it until that first debate between him and Trump. And then that's when, basically the world saw, oh, we've been made a fool by the Democratic Party. So yeah, basically, people got to realize that this is a guy that sat at home, saw what was happening while being accused and demonized and all that. He is pissed, and he is basically taking all that frustration, all that anger, and he's saying, enough of this BS, and everything. We're gonna get crap done, and we're getting it done now, and that's what's happening. That's what's happening, and that's why you always have Fox News or Newsmax or ABC, CNN, whatever, always advertising on YouTube, on their YouTube channels, always advertising that, hey, Trump's going to be signing some executive orders because he wants the world to see that he means business. He wants the country to see he means business. That's what he wants. He wants them to know he means business when he says he's going to fix what was, destroyed, and he's going to put this country first. End of discussion. So basically people have to realize, they have to learn. They have to learn him and his team are not messing around this time. They're not messing around. They're not dilly-dallying. They are going to make sure shit gets done once and for all. So that way, whoever takes over next won't have, an issue, with running the country. And if they try to go against, what he has put into play, maybe try to overrule it, basically they won't have an easier time of doing that like Biden did. So basically he's not messing around. He's not messing around, and he wants to make sure that this country, is, a step ahead, on its feet, and basically ahead of the curve. Well, step ahead and ahead of the curve, but pretty much the same. But you get the idea. Again, people, I don't know when they're going to learn, but they got to realize he's not messing around. And he's not going to basically let people walk all over to try to get what they want. Sooner or later, they're going to realize, yeah, this guy would. They're going to realize that whatever they want, whatever they're protesting, whatever plans they have, those are going up in smoke. They might as well shelve them indefinitely because nothing's going to work. Nothing's going to work, and they have to realize that. So, yeah, him and his crew ain't messing around. Him and his team ain't messing around, and I think a lot of people have to come to realize that right now because, again, if you don't realize that, then shame on you. Shame on you, because it's going to come back to bite you. It's going to come back to make you look, foolish. And you're going to realize, okay, maybe he did have the best in mind for us. It's just personally, as a person, if you don't like him, that's your right. That's your right. If you don't like him personally as a person, that's your right. But as a leader of the country, as somebody that wants to get stuff done, you got to admit he is the right person. So, people hopefully, they're going to learn. Hopefully they will learn that he's not messing around. Him and his team are not messing around. And that they are serious about getting stuff done, whether people, like it or not. Again, you don't have to like him personally as a person, but as a leader, you have to respect that he's doing what Biden and his crew did not do or wasn't able to do within the 4 years he was in office. So basically, in the end, closing out this first topic, I think people have to start realizing Trump and his team ain't screwing around, and basically playtime, is over as of now. Okay, guys, on to our next topic here. On to our next topic, the effect of the John Cena heel turn and Elimination Chamber 2025. Now, a lot of people have been talking about this, basically saying it's the impossible has happened and everything. What is the effect going to be? And I've given my thoughts on it and all that. I feel that, John's heel turn's not going to last long. I think the latest it will last will be SummerSlam, at the most. And I think the earliest will be around WrestleMania. Because, as I've said before, and I'm sure others have made this comparison, it's very similar. Like, if it goes to WrestleMania, it's very similar to Shawn Michaels, his heel turn and everything, and all that, just to basically get Hogan over as a babyface and get that dream match out of the way. It's the same thing here, very similarly. The only thing is we don't know how long they're going to have it go. Only they know, that being Rock, Triple H, Cody, John. Only they know how long it's going to go. But, the effect it's going to have, it's going to be big. It's going to be a big effect for the time being. Whether it's whether it's within this next month or so, because WrestleMania isn't until mid-April, believe it or not. So basically, we don't know if it's going to be till then, to kind of get over the point that, hey, anything can happen. You think it's not going to happen and all that, but it can. So we don't know if that's going to be how long it goes, how long, if it goes to SummerSlam. We don't know. But it's going to be interesting to see exactly what the effect will be going forward. I think the number one effect it's had so far is you think something's not going to happen, but it does. And, this is a good example of that. So I think that's basically the message being sent, because what we saw last night in the main event on Raw, I think I think the first major effect that this has had is, just because Triple H has said this before, and even I've done 2 videos on it, where I've kind of reiterated what Triple H said at the Royal Rumble press conference, and he even repeated such at the Elimination Chamber press conference, that, basically the dirt sheets, the dirt sheets like Fightful and PW Insider and WrestleVotes and all of them, just because they say they might know something doesn't mean they do. Or basically, in reality, they might say, oh, we know this is going to happen, but in reality, they don't know. Because, hey, you think that's going to happen? Guess what? You're wrong. So I think that's the first major effect it's having is, basically, if you're Fightful, if you're PW Insider, you're WrestleVotes, you're Wrestling Observer, you're Cultaholic, you're Wrestle Talk, basically, you're, PW Torch, Pro Wrestling Unlimited, just because you think you might know something, because you heard of something, maybe it's time you took whatever you hear, source-wise, with a very titanic grain of salt, and not take it too seriously, and just be a fan. Just be, like, for example, I say this with all due respect to Sean Ross Sapp, just be a fan and be like, come out on Fightful and say, you know what, I used to be able to give you guys, exact information as to what's going on and everything and all that, and I still kind of do, but there are certain things now that even I don't know what's going to happen, so as a fan, I can only speculate. As a fan, I can only speculate. So yeah, I think that's the first major effect it has, is you never know what's going to happen, just because, you never know what's going to happen because something else might happen instead. But yeah, that's the first effect. What other effects it has later on, we'll see. Again, depending on how long it goes. If it goes to WrestleMania, that's fine. Because again, it feels like basically it's very similar to Shawn Michaels' situation with Hogan. But again, like I said, we don't know. It might go to SummerSlam and everything, but let's be honest, John Cena, I'm pretty sure, has let them know, yeah, I want to do this, but I don't want to end like this. I want to end as a babyface. So I think that will happen, and it might happen, or it might start beginning come WrestleMania, come after WrestleMania. We don't know. We can only guess and speculate, because the only people that know is John Cena, Dwayne Johnson, Triple H, Brian Gertz, and their teams. They're the only people and Cody Rhodes as well. They're the only ones that know what the next step is going to be and all that in the storyline. But the effect, you can already feel it. The effect basically is, expect the unexpected. You think something's going to happen a certain way, but oh, look, this happened instead. So I think that's the first effect, and whatever other effects it has, we'll see down the line. But I think Ariel Helwani brought it up best. Ariel Helwani brought this up during his podcast yesterday, and he basically said that, yeah, what happened is big. It is seismic, if you will. It is seismic in nature, but not on the level as, let's say, Hogan doing what he did in '96. This is, kind of like a close second or close third, if you will. And the reason being is because Ariel said it best. Yeah, it's a big deal. It's seismic in nature. It's going to have effects like what I just mentioned as an example. But he also mentioned that this is the last time you're going to see something like this, because now it's more gray. Now, basically, the difference between heel and a face, is not so clear cut anymore. It's not so clear cut. And that basically we're in a timeline now to where you could start off as a heel, but over time the fans can progressively turn you into a face, and that's what you could be, described as. That could be the category you're put under, because the fans are going to naturally gravitate towards you and put you in that category. So, he has a point when he says that yes, it's seismic, but not on the level as Hogan, and not as big as people putting it, making it out to be, because basically, because basically we're in an era now to where this, it's going to be the last time you see something like this, probably ever, because of how things are so gray and how things are more organically, naturally progressed because of the fans. So he is right about that. He is right about that in nature. He is right about that in nature. And if that's the other effect it has, to where basically people like Ariel Helwani are looking at it as the final time you'll see something something like this happen and everything. When you have people like him describing it in that manner, that's another effect it has. But whatever other effects, the heel turn that John did last night, or did on Saturday, I said, is going to have in the future, we'll see. We'll see what they have in mind and everything, going forward. But it's going to be interesting in nature. It's going to be interesting, in nature to see, exactly what steps they're going to take, depending on how long they drag this out. Whether it's just till Mania to get Cody over and pass the torch to him, or it's to get it to SummerSlam, where that will eventually happen as well. But we'll see. But yeah, the effect so far that I'm noticing is it's WWE and Triple H's way of telling people, basically expect the unexpected. Just because you think something's going to happen doesn't mean it will, because the exact opposite will happen. As shown last night with Raw with Io and Rhea. So there's that. That's a good example and everything. And then you take a look again, with what Ariel Helwani said, and how this basically, in his perspective, this is the last time we're going to see something like this, because the area is now so gray and everything, and it's more of the fans that are naturally, organically progressing the talent to go from one way to another. He does have like I said, he has a point in that description, or in that opinion of his. And if that basically is the other effect I see that this has, outside of what I mentioned of unpredictability. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are on that as we get ready to move on to the third topic. But let me know what your thoughts are on that. And now that we've got that out of the way, let's get ready to move on to our third topic and everything. But let me know what your thoughts are on what I had to say about the John Cena thing and all that. And now let's move on to topic number 3. Okay, guys, on to topic number 3. ESPN opting out 3 years earlier from MLB deal. That's right, number 3 topic. ESPN opting out 3 years earlier from MLB deal. Basically, ESPN has decided that this year will be their last year broadcasting Major League Baseball, which includes several wild card games and the Home Run Derby as well, and I think even Celebrity Softball as well, or the Celebrity Softball All-Star Game that takes place before the official All-Star Game, if you know what I mean. But yeah, ESPN is opting out of the MLB, out of the MLB contract 3 years before the initial deal was supposed to come up, which would have been 2028, I think, 2028. Excuse me. So basically, that's a huge blow to Major League Baseball, if you will. But excuse me again. But it seems that despite that Major League Baseball is trying their best to probably, I guess you could say, make up for that loss, which is going to be ESPN. They're going to try to make up for it, that. And this is what they said. This is an article that I got offline from one of the websites. I think it was Wall Street Journal, one of them. Oh no, it was off of Awful Announcing. It was off Awful Announcing. Shout out to them. But this is something they got from the Wall Street Journal, and this is what was reported there, according to Diamond and Simonette of the Wall Street Journal. This is what Diamond and Simonette of the Wall Street Journal reported. This is what they said, and I quote: "The spectacle of ESPN mutually opting out of the remainder of its national TV deal with Major League Baseball after this season adds new urgency to what has become the most profound problem. This was okay. So I'm trying to make sure I get this correct. Okay, it continues on. It says Commissioner Rob Manfred has faced coping with. Okay, let me reread that. This is what the article says, and I quote. The spectacle of ESPN mutually opting out of the remainder of its national TV deal with Major League Baseball after the season adds new urgency to what has become the most profound problem Commissioner Rob Manfred has faced, coping with the collapse of the TV economy that fueled the industry for decades. They continue on. And this is an article by Diamond and Simon of the Wall Street Journal. And they continue on, and I quote, sources noted that ESPN would have been looking to cut its deal with the league by more than half to no more than $200 million a year. ESPN's departure after partnering with MLB for 35 years means the league is left to find a new national broadcast partner or partners for the 2026 through 2028 seasons. While Manfred also tries to execute an ambitious and wildly complex plan to overhaul baseball's long-term television history. Basically, Diamond and Simon wrote, franchises like the Brewers might have the most to gain from an overhaul, as they could close the gap between themselves and big market outfits. The most difficult task for Manfred will be convincing teams like the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Mets, and the Cubs to do the same. Now, what that means basically, from what I'm understanding, is because they're going to be losing ESPN after this year, possibly things could change. And a new deal could be made, or a new agreement could be made. But as of right now, with the announcement that ESPN is done with MLB after this year, and they're going to be looking for new homes, what it sounds like to me from this article is that the commissioner is going to try to convince regional markets, the big regional markets, out there, like NBC Sports Bay Area, NBC Sports California, Baylor's, if you will, or Ballers, if you will, and Sky Sports, and, Yes Network, and so on. They're going to try to, what it sounds like to me is he's going to try to convince them to expand their market to include other teams. That's what it sounds like to me. It sounds like to me that basically he's going to try to get these other networks, that are focused mainly on, featuring the Brewers, featuring the Yankees, the Red Sox, the Mets, the White Sox, the Cubs, and so on. It sounds like he wants to try to, in my opinion, the way it's described to me there in that article, it sounds like he's trying to get them to expand, their regional output to include broadcasting other games of other teams that may or may not be in the same regional market. So for example, basically, it sounds like they would want the networks that broadcast the Chicago Cubs and White Sox to also broadcast, let's say, the Detroit Tigers, or broadcast the Minnesota Twins, or broadcast the Cleveland Guardians, or the Cincinnati Reds. That's what it sounds like to me. That's the plan, for them to expand more into different markets. To basically get, I guess you say, kind of get people to see more of the teams, that usually ESPN would focus on, that, it would allow them to, allow their audience, their fans, to see other teams featured on their networks and maybe get them invested in those teams as well. That's what it sounds like to me. Now, honestly, do I blame ESPN for opting out early maybe because they wanted less, or they wanted to provide less money, or they wanted to lessen the deal, or something like that, which I don't know makes sense or anything, and everything with MLB. Do I blame them? Not really, because obviously they see what's going on. They're seeing that people are able to tune into Apple TV, Amazon Prime, and maybe eventually Netflix in the future to watch their sports content. That's what they're seeing. And that bothers them. That bothers them to no extent. That bothers them to no extent. They're seeing the scene with Peacock and all that, and NBC getting back into the fray. CBS will probably getting back into the fray now with this announcement. But yeah, it does, and CBS do Viacom and Paramount Plus, I should say. So yeah, it does bother them. Don't get me wrong. It does bother them, and I don't blame them for opting out, realizing you're going to have all these other options now for people to tune in and watch their baseball outside of ESPN. So I don't blame them, but also I think they should at least reconsider what they're doing until we get to 2028. Then that way you could finally officially get out of your deal, because by then there will be more options legitimately for MLB to be seen across the landscape and everything in the near future. But for them wanting to opt out now, to me, sends a message to MLB that essentially, hey, you want to go and play with others and not have us be your main focal point? Fine, go, have fun and everything. You don't want us. You don't want us to be a primary sandbox. We don't need you anymore. So that's the message I think they're sending by doing this. They're basically telling them, hey, you don't want to be part of us anymore? Then fine, we don't want you anymore. Go. So yeah, I think honestly, when you get down to it, I don't blame them, but I also feel like they should just hold off until at least 2028 and see what happens from then, or see what happens between now and then. Because that way, if there are more streaming options and everything opening up for live sports, then in my opinion, you should have more of a legit reasoning to want to opt out and everything. Besides, hey, we just want to get out while we can, and also because of this pay thing and all that that we have between both sides. But yeah, it seems that after 35 years, which will be this year is 2025, since 1990. So yeah, for the first time since 1990. For the first time starting next year since 1990, ESPN will not be broadcasting baseball anymore. Or at least MLB baseball, that is. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who major-wise will pick them up. Outside of the streaming platforms like Apple and, Netflix and so on. My guess outside of the streaming platforms, my guess would be that if anybody's going to pick them up, I think it's going to be Fox is going to retain a lot more. They're going to benefit a lot more out of this. I think CW is going to come in because they want to be very sports oriented. I think TBS, the WBD, TBS and TNT and True TV is going to come in and pick up the slack as well. And I also think maybe, like I said, ABC. Well, ABC is ESPN, so they're not going to qualify. But I think CBS is also going to come in as well. So they got a lot of options, a lot of people to work with. And if ESPN's going to, basically leave them after this year, then you got all those other options that are non-streaming and all that, that also have their own streaming services as well, connecting with them, that, MLB, I think will be fine in the near future. But if I'm going to pick someone that would be like the primary new ESPN home for MLB next year, I'm going to go with the WBD, and I'm going to probably go with, I'm probably going to go with True TV and maybe TBS and TNT on occasions. What that would mean for AEW, that would be interesting to see in the near future. But I think if I'm going to pick anybody to pick up the slack where ESPN is going to basically, leave things as they are after this year, I'm going to go with WBD, and the top one out of those networks being True TV. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are on ESPN opting out 3 years earlier from the contract at MLB. Do you think they should have waited, or do you think it's good on them to do it? Let me know, and let's go on to our next topic. Okay, guys, I am back here with topic number 4. Topic number 4. What's the future of the Oscars after the controversy leading into Sunday night's 97th award show? And again, when you see this on the screen, it's going to say last night. I forgot to correct that. I do apologize for that. That is on me. But anyway, what is the future of the Oscars after the controversy leading into Sunday night's 97th awards show? Now, as I and others like Clownfish TV have talked about, basically one of the controversies leading into it was a lot of people that were mostly known for being part of the voting party for, the Oscars, for the Academy Awards, and other award shows as well that preceded the Oscars. They decided to opt out of voting this year because of the whole DEI situation and the whole rules that have been put into place by the Academy of you got to have, at least mostly for Best Picture, you got to have, two of these three things covered in your film. That being, diversity of, you got to have something like transgender character, LGBTQ representation, and a strong leading female lead or something. Correct me if I'm wrong, but you got to have basically about two out of those three categories, to get eligible for Best Picture, and I think some other categories as well. And a lot of people that normally would be part of the voting process for the Oscars said, nope, we're not going to do that. It's not going to happen. We're out. And because we're out, other movies that should get this opportunity more so than the ones you're seeing, are not going to get that chance to be there. And I mentioned there were movies in there that were, nominated and all that normally, let's be honest, normally would not get nominated because of what they are, because of the kind of movie they are. But because of this situation, these movies at the Oscars and at other award shows, I should say, preceding the Oscars, got these nominations as well as these wins, if you will, in the process. But those aren't the only controversies that followed the Oscars. There were other controversies as well, especially with the what's her name, Carly or Carly girl, whatever her name is, and I say that with all due respect, no offense, the Carlin person who was nominated for leading actress for Emily Perez, being the first transgender to be nominated for the Academy Award for that, as well as being the first to win, I think, what was it, the Screen Actors Guild, or the Critic Choice or something, one of those. Basically, she had a lot of basically very, I wouldn't say depraved, but very disingenuous remarks that came back, kind of like disingenuous, phobic-like remarks that, they had placed online that came back to the surface. And yeah, basically they did not make themselves look good, especially in the eyes of the co-stars and everything. But yeah, they were in attendance. The person was in attendance, but they did not win. But again, it's situations like that to where, a lot of things, make people wonder what the future of the Oscars are going to be going forward, because we are 3 years away from it celebrating a century of existence, that being the Oscars. Next year will be the 98th. The following year, in 2027, will be 99. And in 2028 will be 100 years. But the question obviously is, what is the future after the controversy of, okay, they don't have the voting power that they used to because the primary voters did not want to be part of this because of all these changes and everything as well, when it comes to like the DEIs and all that, as well as the other controversies that followed them even before the awards were, brought into the forte, if you will. What is the future? Well, I'm going to say this. People don't think political figures, leaders of countries, can have an effect on award shows. Well, I got news for you. They can. especially if they have ambassadors in said region of, that is the heart of these award shows. So I think what's going to happen is you're going to have a lot of political views, focused on this. And I think what this is going to do is it's going to cause, because you got to understand, the ratings have plunged. According to reports, the ratings went down. People did not get to see the whole event to the end on Hulu. So a lot of things are not, in the favor of the Oscars, along with all this controversy. And then you look at who's leading our country and everything, and they're like, yeah, I'm not in favor of certain things, which, they're trying to, correct to make sure things are, the way they should be. But I think what the future is for the Oscars is they're going to have to take this next year, or this, the rest of this year, I should say, this, rest of this year going into next year. They're going to have to take this, year, if you will, to look back at what they've done and rule-wise be like, okay, we made a mistake. Maybe we need to revise this and basically state that it's not about what what you represent and everything, but mainly about your performance. Because that's the one thing, a lot of these people that would have voting power to vote certain movies in to be nominated, if not to win, that's what they're, that's the primary argument here. That's the primary controversy they have with this. That instead of focusing on the performance of the actor or the actress or the movie itself, that instead you're focusing on, the certain categories that they're touching upon, to make the movie eligible, and that shouldn't be the reasoning. So to me, the future of the Oscars, I think, people can praise, Sunday night's Oscars all they want, and that's fine, that's their opinion. It was okay to me, but still, it just felt very, and I said it in the video, it felt very un-Academy Award-ish. It basically felt bland, if you know what I mean. Except for the beginning, with Ariana and Cynthia. I'll give them that. But it felt very bland. So, I think what the future holds for them is they got to correct course. Whether they want to or not, they got to correct course. You want to keep a lot of your, I guess you could say, categories or a lot of your checkpoints, as far as like what needs to be nominated and all that, or what qualifies to be nominated and all that, fine, go ahead and do that. But also, I think if you want to do that, you should revise it to where you keep it, but you also say outside of that, it's going to be based on performance. Not just focusing on, okay, does it have LGBTQ representation, transgender representation, this and that? No. Instead, you need to basically say, yes, you can have that, but if you don't, it's not going to matter because you'll still get nominated for the performance. So you need to balance it out to where it's mainly about the performance as well outside of what it represents. So I think they need to do a revising of the rules if they want people to stop criticizing them, for what, they've become and everything over the past year or two. So to me, I think the future for the Oscars is one to where either they need to get the crap together, or they're going to basically be one of those award shows that ends up as a YouTube for free exclusive. And I'm not talking YouTube TV or YouTube Premium. I'm talking you're going to be for free on YouTube, and you're going to be regulated from being at places like the Dolby Theater, if you will, or Crypto Arena or whatever. You're going to be regulated from that to, and I say it with all due respect, no offense, to a small college gymnasium. And that's going to be the unfortunate truth if they don't get their act together. But that's what the future is going to hold for them. That's what the future is going to hold for them. And I think because of the time we're in now politically with who's leading our country, that's going to cause, a massive effect to where they got people, they got connections in Hollywood, ambassadors and all that. And that's going to cause a domino effect to basically cause the Academy and other award shows to be like, okay, if we want, we can keep our DEI regulations and checkpoints, but if we can't get those covered, we should still, a reward for performance. And that should be about it. But let me know what your guys' thoughts are on the future of the Oscars going forward, as we are 3 years away from its 100th anniversary. What do you think the future will hold for them as we go on to our next topic? Okay, guys, let's go on to our fifth topic. And this is really interesting because I was watching an episode, or at least a clip, from John Campia's show. And he brought this up, and I think other people have brought this up as well. And the question, or the topic here is YouTube the future king of streaming for not just content creators, but for movies and shows? Now, if you're wondering why that topic's being brought up, it's mainly because of the fact that YouTube recently, I guess, surpassed Netflix and Disney Plus and all of them as the top streaming platform for movies and shows and even content in general, to where people are watching YouTube more than anything right now. And it's not just, and what's crazy is when you think about it, when people are watching YouTube, they're not just watching it for like the free movies and the free shows, or even movies and shows they could pay through the premium or YouTube TV or whatever. They're watching it for content by people like you and me. They're watching it for content where they can learn how to cook certain meals, how to repair things, do this and that, or just watch it for people talking about what they want to talk about. Or in some cases, like with me in the past, and I can still do it in the future, watch it to see what kind of creative fan vids or PMVs people come up with, or AMVs people come up with. So yeah, when you combine that all together, when you combine that all together under one roof, you can't blame anybody for declaring, YouTube as the top streaming platform above Netflix, above Disney Plus, above, Hulu and Max and Paramount and Peacock and Apple. You can't, blame them for that, because, again, YouTube is, a category to where you have all these different, it's not a category, but is basically a mansion, we'll put it this way, a mansion full of different rooms to go in and explore. So you can't blame anybody for looking at YouTube as the next, as not the next, but as the top streaming platform around there, because you're not just being able to watch a free movie like what Warner Brothers is doing right now through the Warner Brothers Classics and Warner Brothers Entertainment, YouTube channels. You're not just able to watch classic movies or classic Looney Tunes stuff and all that. Or if you go to Wild Brain, you could watch every Sonic the Hedgehog cartoon there is in 480, 720, and 1080p, and so on. Almost every single episode. But you're also able to watch, people like me, people like yourself, and what we're talking about, what we're demonstrating, the unboxings and all that. You're able to see all this. You're able to see people do cover songs, karaoke, and everything. So when you combine all of that together, along with being able to see the free movies and the free shows, or the movies you might pay for and everything, as well as if, let's say, you connect your Movies Anywhere account to it, because you can do that, and you have all your movies and shows in that one section as well, you can't blame people for looking at YouTube as the premier top streaming platform in the world right now. You can't. Now, are they going to stay at that position? God only knows. But if YouTube is but I'm trying to find a right word to say. When you see where YouTube came from initially, almost 20 years ago, well, actually 20 years ago this year, I think, or later this year anyway, when you look at where they came from, essentially, 20 years ago, going on 20 years later this year into next year, when you see where they started from, and, you look at where they're at now, that is a huge evolution. That is a huge growth, as a platform. Despite all its ups and downs it's gone through, all the controversies it's gone through, that's a big, huge, very well-earned growth in the process, because now you're not just still staying committed to the roots of what major platform, what it is today, and that's focusing on people like me and you as content creators that just want to share our love for a variety of things or give our opinions on certain topics and stuff. but now you're also a home for people to go and watch movies and shows of their favorite franchises, either for free or purchased, or even connect outlets like the Movies Anywhere account to be able to watch the movies and shows they purchased, through Movies Anywhere or bought physically but got the digital code to go along with it. Again, you take all this combined and then you add YouTube Music to the fray as well, and now you're adding in, sections for podcasting and everything. You can't blame people for coming out and saying that YouTube is the new is the new king of streaming, or the future king of streaming, above the likes of Netflix and Netflix and, Apple and Hulu and Paramount and Disney and Max. You can't blame them. You can't blame them for being, looked at in that manner. And the thing is, YouTube is still growing. YouTube, even after 20 years, is still growing. People would look at this 20 years as being its child years, being its adolescent years. They're going to look at the next 20 as its years, as its teen years, as its years of puberty, if you will. It's pubic. It's easy for me to say. Very pubic years, if you will. It's, years of rebelliousness. It's teen years, if you will. You're looking at the young adolescent. You're looking at the first 20 years. People are looking at the next 20 years as the teen, rebellious adolescent, if you will, for YouTube. And then the 20 after that will be the full growth. So you could be looking within the next 40 years of YouTube, not just being the king of streaming, but being a platform where basically Netflix and Paramount, like Netflix itself and Paramount Plus itself and Disney Plus itself will all be integrated as its own separate channels. Some say they already are. Some say they already are if you got YouTube TV and everything. And that's true to an extent. But when I'm talking about integrated, I mean there is no more Disney Plus as a streaming service, as an individual streaming service. There is no more Max as an individual streaming service. No more, Peacock or Hulu or what have you. They will all be basically under the YouTube umbrella as little subcategories to click on to find content. That's what they will be. And YouTube will be basically at that forefront and still staying true to what brought it to the dance, back in 2005, 2006, by focusing on content creators like me, you, James Rolfe, Doug Walker, you name it. So again, I don't blame people for coming out and declaring YouTube as the future king of streaming above the more established streaming platforms like Netflix and such. I don't, because you look at everything they're doing right now, and you can't blame them. You can't blame them, from what you're seeing YouTube, growing into. Again, people will look at the first 20 years as their young, adolescent, elementary years, and they're going to look at these next 20 as their middle school, high school years, if you will. That's what they're going to look at. So, do I agree that YouTube is the future king of streaming? Not just for content creators, but movies and shows? Yes. Because again, I think it's going to grow to the point that the streaming platforms you see right now are going to get integrated as a part of YouTube in the near future, within the next 20 to 40 years. Guaranteed. But give me your thoughts on it, guys. What are your thoughts on, this possibility and everything? And let's move on to the next topic. All right, guys, on to our next topic here. And that is, should AI services give you a grace period if you can't pay your monthly /release subscription? And the reason this is brought up is because there's a lot of folks, myself included, that sometimes, due to not having much money on them, as well as, not working as much as they would like to earn that money, we have certain subscriptions that we like to, pay for because it's something that we like to enjoy, indulge in, keeps us busy, keeps our creative juices going, if you will. And some of those services are AI, like Sadu Wright, I believe, Sudu Wright, Kling AI, Luma, you name it. And unfortunately, these are very, sometimes you want certain subscriptions. Some of them are very expensive, or can get very expensive, to the point that when you might not be able to make it to a certain point, that you'll basically have to, let's say, buy a certain amount of credits that will last you long, even after your subscription ends. Because one advantage that they do give you is, most of them, that is you can keep your credits. They will not be affected, but subscription wise, you can't do anything else. You can't do anything else. But the question obviously is, though, should they give you a grace period? And I think they should. If there's one thing I will give my cable outlet, because yes, me and my family still have cable. One thing I'll give my cable outlet credit for is they give you a grace period of a month to kind of be up to date, if you will. So to me, I think that's what AI services need to do as well. They need to give folks like me and you a grace period of at least a couple of weeks, maybe a month, to get up to date. So that way, we could keep our services, enjoy ourselves, as well as, be able to have time to, get the money we need to pay for said services in the future. But with that said, should they do it? In my opinion, yes, they should. They should do it. And, at least those that don't do the credit thing, I think they should. They should at least, do it. Those that don't do the credit thing, let people have a grace period and all that, or at least compensate them for the time. Basically say, okay, look, we know you can't pay right now, but we know you want to still keep going and all that, so we'll entice you by giving you this. Because if there's one thing Sadu Right does do, basically with their service, is when you kind of work on a project, but you start running out of words, credits for your words, they will give you some extra credits to finish it. So I think that's what a lot of them should do as well, to help compensate you in the near future for what you want to, what you're working on, or what you are continually working on as well. So I think that's what they need. I think that's one thing they should do, along with giving you a grace period. So I think, if they don't want to do the compensation of credits, then they should at least give you a grace period of at least a month, maybe 2 weeks at the most. So that way you could have time between a month, maybe 2 weeks at the most, to get the money you need, the finances you need to pay for those services, keep them up to date and everything. Because a lot of us, like to have stuff to kind of indulge in and keep our creative juices going while we still look for work and everything, or wait for unemployment to kick back in and so on in the future. But yeah, I think they should, at least give people a grace period, and if not a grace period, give us, compensation of a certain amount of credits to get us through the next month or so until we can get everything up to date with the billing. But yeah, I think they should give us a grace period, in my opinion. What do you guys think? Let me know down below, and let's move on to our 7th topic. Okay, guys, going on to our 7th topic. For the second year in a row, WWE is allowing superstars to compete in promotions during and after WrestleMania. That's right. Let me repeat that. 7th topic here. For the second year in a row, WWE is allowing superstars to compete in promotions during and after WrestleMania. Basically, other promotions, if you will. And the reason I bring this up is because one of the longest standing superstars, men and women in the WWE right now, Natty Neidhart, she is going to be within the next 2 months, going to be competing for two different promotions. She's going to be competing on WrestleMania weekend, on the Thursday before WrestleMania, which is WrestleMania is on a Saturday. So 2 days before WrestleMania, Natty Neidhart is going to be competing in GCW at Josh Barnett's Bloodsport. That's right, Josh Barnett, he does the Bloodsport event at least twice a year, once during WrestleMania weekend, and then once, I think about a few months later in Japan, he does one as well. And she will be competing at the Bloodsport event this year. But then a month later, she will be competing. I don't know if it's in a singles action or it's a tag team action. I don't know, but it sounds like it could be singles action. She will be competing in an NWA ring. That's right. She'll be competing for Billy Corgan's NWA during the Crockett Cup event. In May of this year. So within the span of 2 months, she'll be competing in 2 different non-WWE promotions, that being GCW and the NWA. And what's cool about this is, again, it shows you that things are definitely different, because, you take a look at the John Cena heel turn. Everybody has pretty much come out and said that if Vince was still here, this would never happen, and that when Vince did have the opportunity, he got cold feet, said no to John, and now here we are. But the other takeaway as well is you got this partnership with TNA and the exchange of talent between NXT and TNA, and eventually down the line WWE and TNA. But also you got this exchange of talent, being able to compete in other promotions, during and after WrestleMania, to kind of get not only keep the feet wet, but also to test the waters to see what else is out there while still being contracted to WWE, and maybe secretly be on a bit of a scouting mission for them as well. But yeah, that's what's going on with Natty Neidhart, and I don't think Natty is going to be the only one that gets this opportunity. I think we're going to get more names from WWE and maybe even TNA announced for GCW Bloodsport during WrestleMania weekend, if you will. And I think we might even get another WWE or TNA name announced for the Crockett Cup in May. So that's pretty cool. And what's interesting is, I think the reason this is happening as well is because the NWA needs a lot of exposure. They need some exposure. Billy Corgan, he has a deal with the CW, but it's only through the CW app and everything. And he's also putting the show on Twitter, on X, and everything, his NWA Power. So obviously knowing that, okay, I'm on the CW, but I'm only on the app, and NXT's on the CW on television-wise, I got to get a connection there. And Natalya, let's be honest, she has built up enough goodwill in the WWE, to the point that not only did WWE want to retain her, but she now has enough goodwill and say and pull to be able to go out and do these things if she asked to do them. And again, this being a different regime, a different era, if you will, that Triple H and Nick Khan, they're cool with her doing it, because not only does it get her out there to continue doing what she loves to do, and that's wrestle, but it also allows them to, through her eyes, probably figure out, okay, who's out there that we can bring into our ID program, if not straight to NXT, if not straight to the main roster. So yeah, she's getting an opportunity to do this, and again, I'm pretty sure she will not be the only one next month to be part of Bloodsport from WWE or TNA or whatever. I don't think she'll be the first one or the only one. I think there'll be more, and the same could be said for the Crockett Cup situation as well. I will say this, though, I don't expect any AEW people to be part of the GCW or Crockett events, if you will, unless they know they desperately need help and attention. I don't think we'll see any AEW talent being part of that, because of them being WWE talent and Tony Khan being the way he is in the eyes of a lot of folks. But yeah, for the second year in a row, they're letting this happen. And congratulations to Natalya for getting this opportunity. Hope she does well at Bloodsport as well as during the Crockett Cup. It's going to be really interesting to see, what this leads to for her in the future. Obviously, WWE, I think, is going to reward her this year, possibly with a run with either the United States Championship or the Intercontinental Championship, in my opinion. But yeah, congratulations to Natalya for getting this opportunity to be at GCW Bloodsport and at the NWA Crockett Cup. And we'll see what happens next. We'll see what happens next with her and everything. But also we'll see who else in the WWE roster, NXT roster, Evolve roster is going to be part of the GCW Bloodsport, as well as the Crockett Cup in the future. But with that said, guys, let's go on to our 8th and final topic, shall we? I think this one will be interesting. Okay, guys, so let's go on to our final topic here. 8th and final topic, that being, is AEW in for a hard time going forward thanks to what happened on Saturday? Now, of course, a lot of people, I mentioned this in the second topic, they're wondering what the effect will be and everything about the John Cena heel turn. Obviously, like I said, we've already seen 2 effects and everything, with, things being unpredictable. You think something's going to happen, then the opposite happens, and then you have people like Ariel Helwani coming out and saying this is going to be the last time you ever see something like that, because things are such, in such a gray area to where all you need is fans coming out and saying, we like this person, we want this person to be our good guy or a good gal, and there you go. They get behind them, there you go, naturally, organically, they become the babyface, and then naturally, organically, the person they don't like, becomes a heel. So, we're in that time frame. We're in that time frame right now where that kind of stuff happens. But, the question is, as far as AEW goes, because when people made this comparison about John Cena turning heel and to Hulk Hogan, and and people like Ariel Helwani saying it's not as big, not as seismic, if you will, not as seismic in scope, as to what Hogan did, which is true. There's no doubt, it is indeed true. Basically, what happened is it helped WCW launch to the stratosphere and basically obliterate WWE for 83 weeks in a row, to the point that it caused WWE to pick up its game and realize, you know what, enough of the cartoony crap and all that. Let's get real. Let's get attitude. Let's get extreme. And that's what they did. That's what they started doing, and thus the Attitude Era was born, and we ended up having WWE flip the table on WCW. The thing is here, though, this is not the Monday Night Wars. Those 2 shows were added on Monday nights, and even at times Thursday nights. So this is not the Monday Night War situation. This, is completely different. Because this is not a guy that did this in AEW and it's going to help AEW launch to the stratosphere. No, this guy is a homegrown WWE talent, one of the greatest of all time, that basically, has been a babyface for most of his career, a controversial babyface. They finally decided, screw it, my last year I'm going to go heel for a bit, and boom, he does. So, so basically when you look at it, essentially, it's completely different. It's a completely different structure. And basically for AEW, the question is, is AEW in for a hard time going forward thanks to what happened on Saturday? I think basically they are. I think All Elite Wrestling, Tony Khan, they are going to be in for a struggle. Unfortunately, I hate to say that. They're going to be in for a struggle. Now, will what happened on Saturday with John Cena turning heel get them to up the game a little bit? I hope so. I hope they realize that, oh crap, WWE pretty much buried us 6 feet, 17 feet under. How are we going to crawl out before the dirt falls on top of us? Hopefully it gets them to, wake up and realize, okay, we need to change too. Because, again, WWE essentially just stomped whatever life, unfortunately, remained in them. Stomped whatever life remained in them to the point that they are buried 18, 17 feet figuratively, not literally, but figuratively under, but the dirt is not yet to be poured down on top of them. So now the question is, what could they do to dig out of that to climb out of that hole before the dirt falls and buries them? Well, again, they're going to have to start picking up their game. They're going to have to prove that, okay, no more goofing around, no more, absent-mindedly putting certain matches together and all that for the heck of it. We got to go story-based. We got to go focusing on what, people want to see and everything, and hopefully it builds us back up. It gets us out of the hole we're in. Because right now, if they don't focus on focus on the stories and giving fans what they truly, truly want, it is going to be a hard time for them going forward, after, because of what happened. Because now people are going to talk more about, what John Cena did at Elimination Chamber than people are going to talk about what's going to happen at Revolution this weekend. Because they got a pay-per-view coming up this weekend as well. And, people are going to probably watch it and everything to see what they do. But, whatever they do this weekend, this weekend with their pay-per-view, they got to do something that, will send a message that, hey, we saw what happened the week prior with John Cena. So here's our response. And it will be a response to be like, people will be like, okay, AEW gets it now. Playtime's over. Playtime's over. It's time to get to work. So hopefully they do that. Hopefully they do that, because if not, people will watch Revolution, but then they're going to forget about it and still focus on and talk about what happened at Elimination Chamber as we build to WrestleMania. So AEW, right now, if they don't get their act together, starting either tomorrow night in the go-home show to Revolution or at Revolution itself, they're going to be in for a hard time going forward if they don't get their act together starting tomorrow night in the go-home show and at Revolution. They're going to have a hard time going forward because, it doesn't matter how long the thing's going to go for. It doesn't matter how long the heel turn for John Cena is going to go for, whether it's till WrestleMania or till SummerSlam at the latest. Basically, AEW, the future is not looking good. It's not looking good. And whatever talent they're getting to come in, hey, good for them. But I guarantee you that talent's now looking over on the other side being like, man, I wish I would have signed with them. Look where they're going. So, AEW, I think, is definitely going to be in for a hard time going forward. Despite I guess you could say, the somewhat momentum they have on somewhat sub decent shows they've been having. To me, I think what they got to do, not tomorrow night on the go-home show, but they got to at least set the table for it. But at Revolution, they need to, have a response. Have a response to what happened at Elimination Chamber, and have a response that says, we saw what happened, we get it, playtime's over, it's time to wake up and get to work. And I think that's what they got to do. Because if not, they're going to have a hard time going forward. Even if the heel turn is only for up to WrestleMania and John goes back to being a babyface afterwards, they're still going to have a hard time, because now WWE is in what's known as unpredictable mode, to where you think something's going to happen, but then something completely different or opposite happens. So I think AEW is going to be in for a hard time going forward, thanks to what happened on at Elimination Chamber and everything. And to me, they got to have a response, a good response, not just at the go home show tomorrow night, but with Revolution itself. But guys, let me know what your thoughts are. If you agree with me at the fact that they might have a hard time going forward or not, let me know what your thoughts are. Okay, guys, that's going to do it for this edition of Topics on My Mind for today, March 4th, 2025. Again, guys, as I said at the beginning, I do have a Patreon video exclusive to Patreon up right now. Go check that out. I think you guys will thoroughly enjoy it. It is focusing on adult film star Kira Reed. Check that out. I think you will like it. And that's going to be the first of many. I do plan to try to get more out in the future, so be on the lookout for more that will show up, and I will let you know that more will be available when I do certain videos, audio on camera. But I got a new one out. I got a new one out there on Patreon. It's part of the $3 tier and $5 tier. Check that out. But anyway, though, guys, that's about it for, like I said, the topics on my mind for today. Do me a favor, do me a solid favor, like the video, ring the bell for notification, subscribe to the channel. Also, click on the links in the description to find my content elsewhere. You can find me at all your favorite audio and video podcast affiliates like iTunes, iHeart, Pandora, Spotify, Audible from Amazon, Radio Public, Overcast. Wherever there's a podcast, you will find mine there as well. Also, check me out at VENMO at BW Rosas. You can find me at Odyssey.com at BWRosas.5. You can also find me at rumble.com at BWRoses. You can find me, like I mentioned, at patreon.com at BWRoses. $1 tier helps support the channel. $3 tier get you the support, or gives you the $1 tier. Okay, let me correct myself. Patreon.com BWRoses. $1 tier helps support the channel. $3 tier not only does that, but also gives you exclusive content. And the $5 tier gives you the first two, along with eventual bonus Q&As. And I will be working on the Q&As eventually down the line. I will let you know when those will happen, as well at BW Roses at Patreon. Also, guys, check out the Teespring store for merchandise you can't get anywhere else. You can also find me at divanart.com, at BVW1979, at inkbunny.net, at BW Roses. You can also follow me on Twitter, aka x.com, at BW Roses, Blue Sky at BW Roses, and our TikTok at BW Roses. But guys, give me your thoughts on everything I had to say here on this Topics on My Mind video, audio video that is. And until next time, I'll talk to y'all later.